Typhoons are already some of the most powerful storms on Earth, capable of wiping out entire cities in a matter of hours. But what if we told you that these storms are getting stronger, deadlier, more unpredictable? And the reason? Climate change. Climate change is changing the game, transforming typhoons into superstorms. Today, we're breaking down how rising temperatures, warming oceans, and shifting weather patterns are creating more destructive typhoons than ever before, and what this means for the future. To understand how climate change is supercharging typhoons, we first need to understand what fuels these storms in the first place. As we covered in our last video, typhoons are born over warm tropical waters. The key ingredient? Heat. The warmer the water, the more energy a storm has to grow. And guess what's happening because of climate change? The oceans are getting hotter. In fact, the world's oceans are absorbing 90% of the excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This means that when a typhoon forms, it's feeding off more heat than it would have 50 or even 20 years ago. More heat means stronger storms. One of the clearest effects of climate change on typhoons is the intensity of the winds and rainfall. Studies show that the number of Category 4 and 5 typhoons, those with wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour or 125 miles per hour, has been increasing in recent years. In fact, some of the most devastating storms in recent history, like Super Typhoon Haiyan and Typhoon Goni, were fueled by unusually warm waters. But it's not just the winds. Warmer air can hold more moisture, which means heavier rainfall. Typhoons today are dumping more rain than ever before. When storms make landfall, this extra rainfall leads to more severe flooding, causing landslides and destroying communities. It's not just coastal areas that are at risk. Rivers inland are swelling beyond their limits due to the extreme rain. Here's something that might surprise you. Climate change is also causing typhoons to slow down. In recent years, scientists have noticed a troubling trend. Typhoons are moving slower, meaning they stay over one area for longer, causing more damage. Why is this happening? Well, climate change is weakening the jet stream, the high-altitude winds that usually steer storms. With weaker winds, typhoons are getting stuck, lingering over land and dumping massive amounts of rain in one spot. This stalling effect has been responsible for some of the worst flooding events in recent memory. Think of it like a typhoon turning into a slow-moving disaster that you can't escape. Another deadly consequence of climate change? Rising sea levels. As global temperatures rise, polar ice caps are melting, causing the oceans to expand. In fact, sea levels have risen by around 8 inches in the last century, and the rate is accelerating. Why does this matter for typhoons? Simple. Higher sea levels mean bigger storm surges. When a typhoon makes landfall, it can push massive amounts of seawater onto the coast. Storm surges, combined with higher sea levels, are causing unprecedented flooding in coastal areas. And as sea levels continue to rise, the threat only grows. Even a small increase in sea level can have devastating consequences during a typhoon. Imagine a wall of water several meters high crashing into your town. This is what many communities now face every typhoon season. You might be wondering, are we going to see more typhoons because of climate change? The answer isn't straightforward. While scientists don't expect a huge increase in the overall number of typhoons, they do predict that the storms we do see will be more intense. So while the number of smaller storms may decrease, the ones that do form are likely to be larger, more powerful, and longer lasting. It's a trade-off we'd rather not make. Fewer storms, yes, but the storms that do come are capable of unprecedented destruction. Typhoons don't just affect the environment, they affect people. And as typhoons get stronger, it's the most vulnerable communities that are hit the hardest. Coastal regions, especially in Southeast Asia, are on the front lines of these superstorms. For many, it's not a question of if a typhoon will hit, but when. Millions of people live in areas that are increasingly at risk from stronger typhoons and rising sea levels. Entire communities could be displaced as their homes become uninhabitable. This isn't a problem for future generations, it's happening right now. But there is hope. The good news is that by understanding the connection between climate change and typhoons, we can take action to reduce the damage. Governments and scientists around the world are working on solutions, building better early warning systems, designing stronger infrastructure, and investing in renewable energy to slow down global warming. The faster we can slow the warming of the planet, the more we can limit the impact of climate change on future storms. But there's no time to waste. The window to act is closing fast. Typhoons have always been a part of life on Earth, but climate change is transforming them into something far more dangerous. The storms of the future will be stronger, wetter, and more destructive than anything we've faced before. But by taking action now, we can lessen the impact and protect the generations to come. Remember, the storm may be inevitable, but how we prepare for it, how we face it, and how we rebuild afterward, that's up to us. If you found this video informative, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tap the notification bell for more deep dives into the science of our changing planet. Together, we can weather the storm.